Hey guys, Scarrow9 here, welcome to my channel today, and with Season of the Worthy, there are now 42 exotic catalysts in the game. That is obviously incredibly overwhelming if you're a player who's coming back after a break, or if you're a new light player or something like that, or you just didn't grind out all of these catalysts when they first came out. And as such, I've been getting a lot of questions about which are the best exotic catalysts, which are the ones that actually matter that you should spend your time grinding out. So I've picked 7 of my favorite exotic catalysts in the game, and I'm going to be talking about them in this video. Now that being said, there are a lot more useful catalysts. There are some that are pretty good, but kind of fell to the background. A very good example of that is going to be the Izanagi's Burden catalyst. This catalyst makes it do a lot more damage. However, since Izanagi's isn't in the best place right now, the catalyst isn't as useful, but I still recommend grinding that out. That's not going to be on this list, however, and at the end of the day, I would just recommend getting all 42 of these in general if you have the time. A lot of exotics in Destiny tend to go from being the worst exotic in the game to being the best exotic in the game. Hardlight is a fantastic example. A month ago, no one was using it. Now it is by far the most used weapon in Crucible, and people with the catalyst are now benefiting a ton. So if you have the time, go ahead and grind out all 42. If you are time limited, this list is for you. We're going to be going over what I consider to be 7 of the absolute best top tier exotic catalysts in the game, in no particular order. Let's just go ahead and get into it. So the first one is going to be the Huckleberry catalyst. This one gets overlooked a lot. Huckleberry is actually quite insane. It is probably the best ad clearing weapon in the entire game. Kills with this weapon now reload the entire magazine when you have the exotic catalyst fully upgraded and equipped to your weapon. This means that not only does Huckleberry have pre-nerf DPS numbers on Rampage, meaning it does a shit ton of damage compared to other weapons with Rampage, it not only does that, but you also never have to reload this weapon, which is huge. That means that it is top tier for taking out small enemies, things like minor enemies, major enemies, and it doesn't do half bad DPS on big bosses either. So this is something I would definitely add to your arsenal. I wouldn't take it into things like master level nightfalls, but if you're doing something, smaller, nightmare hunts at lower difficulties, things like lower difficulty nightfalls, just the strike playlist, things like that, this is an extremely powerful weapon that I would recommend anyone have in their arsenal. The sixth one is going to be Hardlight. Now, Hardlight's catalyst makes it have way more stability. It actually maxes out the stability on the Hardlight. If you're on mouse and keyboard, doesn't really matter. You don't have to get this catalyst, whatever. But if you're on controller, this catalyst is considered a must, in my opinion. This makes you way more accurate, and especially if you're playing with like a controller on PC, you are at a huge disadvantage because you have to kind of fight that recoil that the Hardlight naturally has. So by getting this catalyst, you completely eliminate the vertical recoil. It makes it kind of a laser, and it makes you way more competitive, and it makes the Hardlight a lot easier to use. Now, this catalyst drops from strikes. Farming Nightfalls is by far the best way to get it, but if you just keep playing the strike playlist, you should get it to drop eventually, and it's definitely worth it in my opinion. So make sure you keep your eye out for this one, and make sure to unlock it because it's very good, especially if you're on controller. The next one is going to be the catalyst for the Outbreak Perfected. Your nanite damage is increased and you spawn additional nanites. Now this perk is great in both PvE and PvP. In PvE, this perk is responsible for making Outbreak one of the easiest ways to attain huge DPS numbers. If you have a full fire team of 6 using this, it can melt raid bosses, usually an easy 2 to 3 phase. It might not be the most effective DPS strategy, but it is much easier than using something like Izanagi's or Whisper, where that requires a little bit more skill to get high DPS numbers. Outbreak will always be one of the easiest ways to get huge DPS values within raids and things like that. But whenever you have this catalyst in Crucible, it makes it ridiculously annoying. These nanites hit for like 13 to 14 damage each. You spawn a ton of them anytime you kill someone with a headshot. And honestly, it's just, in my opinion, one of the best pulse rifles in the Crucible, especially when you have this catalyst. It makes it incredibly annoying to deal with. It makes it very easy to take on multiple enemies, especially if one of them's not paying attention. And it's just a very welcomed upgrade to the weapon that I think that if you're a big pulse rifle guy in the Crucible, you definitely need to be giving it a shot. Now, this catalyst is a little bit more difficult to not only attain, but to upgrade as well, because you have to do various runs of the heroic version of 0 Hour. I would just recommend looking up a separate guide for that altogether. It would be way too long if I broke it down here, but essentially you have to beat the level in subsequent weeks, and that unlocks the catalyst. But go look up a guide on that if you don't have it. Now, the fourth one is going to be Whisper of the Worm. This adds a unique version of box breathing to the weapon called Whispered Breathing that just does increased damage. Whisper is in an incredibly good spot right now, one of the top DPS weapons in the game, and while it might be a little bit more difficult to use than something like Xenophage, it's definitely worth the trade-off in a lot of encounters, and this perk, this catalyst, is the reason that it does such insane amounts of damage. It gives it, like I said, Whispered Breathing, and with Whispered Breathing proc, you are actually doing around 35% additional damage on your precision shots, and it's definitely well worth it. Now, you get this from doing, once again, the heroic version of the Whisper of the Worm mission, and then you have to run it in subsequent weeks to fully level up the catalyst, but it's definitely well worth it, and anyone who does things like raids or high-level nightfalls or anything like that should look into getting this catalyst. The next one is going to be the catalyst for the Suros regime. Once again, just like the Hardlight, Suros is destroying the Crucible right now, and this catalyst is a big part of that. It improves the recoil direction, I believe, and it also makes you much more likely to heal yourself on kills. In my experience, you actually get your health back like once every 2 to 3 kills. It is a lot more consistent than just the base version of the Suros, which makes it a necessity in Crucible, especially if you're doing things like Iron Banner and that sort of thing where light level might matter. This will help give you an edge over your opponents. Now, this catalyst drops from winning matches in the Crucible, so just go into Crucible, win a game, and hopefully you'll get to the catalyst for you to unlock and get these crazy benefits to the weapon. Definitely recommend grinding this one out. The next one is going to be the catalyst for the Bad Juju. This one doesn't do anything too crazy. It just extends how long the String of Curses perk lasts for. That perk just makes it so that every subsequent stack of it you get, it's kind of like Rampage, you do more damage, but you also get more super energy. So by extending how long that perk lasts for, you're not only making sure that you are consistently dealing more damage, but you're also making sure that you are consistently getting more super energy for your kills as well. This thing is just, it's an awesome gun. This catalyst makes it way better. I'm a big fan of it, and yeah, definitely go grind it out. This one's actually fairly simple to get. You just get it after upgrading 45 tributes in your tribute haul. So you can just buy it right from the statue vendor there, and he'll just hand it to you. So definitely go pick this guy up. Very, very fun. And when I'm doing some raids, sometimes when I'm not using something like Mountaintop, I'll throw on Bad Juju because it's a lot of fun. It means you have your super more often, and it's very, very effective. So that's why I picked that one. Now in the number 1 slot, we have the Mida Multi-Tool Catalyst. All right, that was a really bad joke. For real, we have the 4th Horseman Catalyst, one of the brand new, actually the newest catalyst in the game right now, and it just adds a 5th shot to the 4th Horseman, as well as nearly doubles the reload speed. Now, that might sound really simple. You add a 5th shot, so you're doing around 25% more damage because it goes from 4 to 5. However, the Horseman's perk actually makes it so that every subsequent shot does additional damage. So you're actually doing more than 25% more damage, and this gun just turns into an absolute monster melting machine. It's a lot of fun to use. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a ton of range, but if you're doing something like melting strike bosses or melting public event bosses or something like that, this gun is absolutely insane. And it's definitely a necessity. It's a lot of fun, and I cannot wait to see what this thing looks like once arc damage comes up in the strike rotation playlist, because I bet those bosses are going to be absolutely destroyed. So definitely pick up the 4th Horseman Catalyst. It's fairly easy to get. It just drops from Rasputin activities. You just have to farm things like Legendary Lost Sectors or the Seraph Towers public event or things like that. So it's not too difficult to get. You might just have to put a little bit of time into it. So those are 7 catalysts that I recommend every single one of you guys picks up. Make sure that you have not only equipped on your weapon, but fully upgraded so your weapons are getting the additional bonuses. And keep in mind, in addition to everything I said here, you also will now generate orbs on multi-kills, which is in itself a huge benefit. So, I hope you guys did find this video useful. If you did, make sure to leave a like rating and to share it with your friends. If you are interested in watching either of the 2 videos on screen, you can click at their respective annotations to be taken to them. If you are brand new to my channel, make sure to hit the giant version of my logo on screen to be subscribed to my awesome Destiny 2 videos and live streams. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and I will see you in my next video.